All right, so this is the new Nikon Zfc, the retro styling of like an old Nikon F film camera with the modern technology of a Nikon mirrorless. Now, you might be thinking, hey, isn't that just like a Z50 repackaged? Kind of, but it's awesome. So I've had it for about a week now. I'm gonna run it through its paces, give it a little first look / mini review, and it's coming right up. Hey everyone, this is Mike here from Mike McGee Photography. Okay, here it is. This is the Nikon ZFC. Now, I was looking forward to this, and I heard some rumors that they were going to go in this direction, Nikon that is, and once I saw the actual pictures online and the announcement, I was like, oh, I'm sold, man. I don't really need this at all. I have a Nikon Z6 II, and I can put a link up to my Nikon Z6 II review. So although I don't need this, I have a full frame Nikon advanced mirrorless camera. This to me is kind of like the perfect walk around / travel lens that's in a crop sensor form, yet has all the beauty and retro styling of the old Nikon F film cameras. Now that sold me. So it comes in a variety of colors, it has different specs, it's very similar to the Z50. I'll go through some of those differences, but I thought I'd just start this out by going with some styling, and I'll show you up close and personal what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. So here we go. All right, so we got to talk right off the bat about the styling. I mean, look at this thing. It is a beauty. As far as I'm concerned, it's just gorgeous. It's exactly the type of thing I would want, sort of the modern technology, and it's almost like a resto mod car, like an old 65 Mustang, but it has airbags and it has all the nice features. So that's kind of the vibe that I get from this thing. I'm going to show you my old Nikon F film camera from back in the day. Now I'm going to show you a little bit. I'll go to the close-up camera, and we'll kind of go through some of the styling choices that they did, and you can just see right from the get-go. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Now it has, like, for example, the round viewfinder. Harks back to the old days where they had a little bit of the round viewfinder as well. Sort of those rigid corners that are aluminum or aluminium, if you want to say Z. It just has the beautiful kind of look of all the tactile dials that kind of brings back, again, that romance. It's very similar to, again, it could be very hipsterized if you want to call it that, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just sort of like to stop and hark back to sort of the beauty of photography. When I got my first camera in 1990, and I can still remember the nostalgia of the chemical smell. Oh, the chemical smell. I love that, actually. Yeah, it kind of has that vibe where you have all the styling of that old style camera, the old Nikon Film F, but just the beauty of the mirrorless. So that already sold me on it. Some of the other features that you may want to know are the colors. Now, again, if styling is important to you and you like this over, let's say, the Z50, let's go over what colors it has. Well, it comes in, like I have here, black, of course. Now, some of the other colors that it comes in are amber brown, it comes in white, it comes in natural gray, it comes in sand beige, coral pink, and mint green. Now, again, those colors are only available if you buy it as a kit. If you go body only, you can only get it in black, or as Henry Ford would say, with the Model T, you can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. So yeah, unfortunately, if you want the body only, you gotta go black. But that's okay. I wanted to go kind of retro black to complement my old Nikon film camera. And it does have some features, like it's got a fully articulating screen. So on the back here, you have a little bit of like that sort of a leatherette vibe. It's really just plastic. And if I compare this feel to the old actual Nikon, the old film camera, this one's a little rougher, a little bit more durable, even though it's also equally probably just plastic. This one just has, it's a little bit more on the smooth side, but that's probably just so they can make it even more razor thin on the back to fit the form factor. Just a guess, I don't know. But I thought it would be nice to kind of compare the two of these guys back to back, and then I even have like an old Yashica. This is my dad's old camera from the Vietnam War that he took quite a few pictures over there when he was drafted. He came back, and so did the camera. Good news on that, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. And you could just see sort of like the look of the Yashica, the Nikon F, as well as this Nikon ZFC. Just those dials and I don't know, just the beauty of the old styling of the cameras just already had me sold. So styling aside, I'll go ahead and I'll talk about features and some of the tech specs and all that nerd jargon. So I'll get into that, but I think I should probably just start with what's in the box. Okay, so what's in the box? It's actually pretty simple. I'll just show you the box first. It's got like a nice little light gray. It's a little different than the Z6 II, let's say, that's black and shiny and glossy. This is more retro with a little bit of a silver foil on it. And let's see. So really, obviously you have the camera. You have a battery charger, and this is the MH32 battery charger. It's got like a little flip out two-pronger action. Now this is for the US market, so that's what I'm getting over here, and it just flips out kind of nice. Now you are able to charge the camera with a USB-C directly into the camera, so you don't necessarily even need a charger to charge the camera, which is nice. It comes with one of these EL25 batteries. Now if you look at this, it's a little, again, it's a different size than the Z6 II, so keep that in mind that you won't be able to swap out with the Z6 or the Z7. It's a different form factor and a different model number. So this is the EL25, I believe, is that right? Yeah, yes, and then we have the strap that goes with it. You got the little Nikon Z. I probably won't use that, so I'll just keep that in the box. And you have user's manuals, a multilingual version, as well as your warranty card. So really, that's all. I just wanted to show you what's actually in the box in case somebody gets one, and since they're not cellophane wrapped, you think, hey, I never got one of those things, is that right? But one thing I did want to point out, and I don't want to be a little Karen about this, but it does come with obviously a lens cap, and this little tiny little lens cap, and I got the kit version, so this is a little pancake lens right here. Now, it would have been cool, come on Nikon, this would have been really cool. It's instead of using the nice little Nikkor, you know, modern lens cap version, if you used a lens cap like one on my old film camera, one of these old 60s style like Nikon font in there, that would have been so cool. Maybe they actually do have interchangeable lenses. This is a 45mm lens cap, so maybe there's a 45mm lens cap for this guy that would just fit on there, but that would just sort of complement the actual retro styling that I would love to see to really give it that film camera look. But alas, it was not to be. But check out maybe third party or something. Somebody should make one of these. Anyway, so that's basically what's in the box. All right, so how about the controls? I mean, it's a camera, right? This is one of the most important features to know how do you exactly control it. Well, as you can see here, there's analog style controls and that tactile feel that you can see. It's not just buried in menus where you just look at it digitally. You can actually see the numbers, so to change your ISO settings, you just push down on top and you can rotate through your various ISO settings right here on the top of the camera. Now, same thing for shutter speed. You can just pick your shutter speed and kind of scroll through those as you see them on display from an actual, you know, turning of the dial. Now, what about the aperture? Well, if you turn, I'm going to turn the camera on right here. I'm going to first not turn it on, but right there is your little aperture setting. It's a small, tiny little LCD that almost simulates one of those film counters or something. Now, if I turn that on, I'm going to go ahead and on, and you may be able to see right there. Let me see if that's actually even on. Yeah, maybe the lights are going to drown it out. But if you can see way in there, I'll get a close-up. You can see that is where your aperture setting is. Now you just turn this front dial right here, and once you turn that, that scrolls through the available apertures for your particular lens. And then you have another exposure compensation, nice little dial right here, which I like. It just looks, again, very retro, very film oriented, and it just has a nice look and feel to the controls. Now, how about the bottom? Now, if you were going to use the SD slot, you just have to pop this open. You pop it open for your battery, and this is where the SD slot is right here on the bottom. So you just pop that out, kind of give it a little turn, pop that guy in, and same thing for the battery. You just pop it out right there. This is how it goes in. Super nice right there. Pop it in, close her up, and you're good to go. So those are essentially the main controls, and of course the back. You don't have a full joystick, but you have that pad, and then you have like your back button focus lock button. You have your eye menu so that you can punch up those quick access menus, and then again it's very similar to the other Nikon mirrorless like the Z6, Z6 II, Z7, Z7 II. And those are the buttons that you have for and the controls for the ZFC. Okay, I should probably cover some tech specs. Now this is a 21 megapixel crop sensor camera. Once again, it's not a full frame camera. Now I'll throw up the tech specs on the screen because that's important to many people, myself included, but oftentimes whether something shoots like 11 frames per second or 13 frames per second, I don't really care. But I know that's important to some people, so you can feel free to review the tech specs as you can see them on screen, but it's really about the initial thoughts, sort of the look and feel of how this camera holds up. Now, when I compare this to my old Nikon film camera, my old Nikon film camera is built like a German tank. This thing is just, it weighs a ton, it's metal. You probably, I don't know if you can hear how solid that sounds. It is just a beast. They're made to last, and that's why even in 2021, this thing can shoot film. But this, it's a little different approach. Now, they kind of went with a balance of retro styling, but the light, they probably wanted to cut out a ton of weight, but they wanted to have the lightness or just the featherweight approach. So yes, it is more plasticky. Some might think that's cheap. I kind of do think it's a little hint of the cheap side. It just kind of feels, I'm not gonna say flimsy, but it is a little bit on the light side. Like it just feels like nothing's like truly metal. I don't know if it's just, there's obviously some metal components, but it doesn't feel like, it feels like all of this is just like plastic kind of chromed out to make it look like metal. Like if you scratched it, it has black plastic underneath. I'm not gonna do that because this is my camera, that I bought it. I did not get sent this for free. So yeah, so you have certain aspects of just the weight of it that does not feel like a film camera, of course. It's to be expected. But also obviously when you click the shutter, you don't have that nice little credit card old vintage machine when you fire it away. It's kind of more like just a little silent beep. A little bit on the weaker side, of course. They could have put like maybe a speaker in this guy, sort of like the sound actor on a GTI where they kind of fake rev the engine. No, you don't want to do that. But I do notice the difference of, yes, you have the nostalgic feel and the romance of a film style camera, but that's the key. It's a film style camera. It's still going to be mirrorless, so it's still going to be light. There's no mirror. It's compact, and as of course you can see, this pancake lens is a nice 16 to 50 millimeter lens that is tiny. So now the kit lens that it comes with, it has a feature similar to the Z6 II. So you have to actually click it out and have it go out there. I'm going to show you this as it goes down here, and when you go all the way back, it sort of locks in place, so it stays nice and compact, that pancake lens type vibe. And then if you try to take a picture, you'll get the warning on the screen, hey, you got to fully extend that out to at least the 60 millimeter range, and then that nose of the lens sort of pokes out, and then you can go from there to toggle your focal range. So that is really the look and feel of the camera. Now, some of the features that obviously jump out right away are the fully articulating screen. I'm going to put that back down. The fully articulating screen is pretty sweet. Like, it can just pop out, of course. You can have it flip around, face yourself, face if you were doing like selfie footage or something like that, if you had vlogging, or if you're just, as I've learned many a time, if you have something straight up as an overhead camera shot, sometimes you want that camera to be able to flip back around so you can see what that footage is. Make sure it's recording, of course, because you might miss footage that way. But it can also flip around so that you're, much like on the Z6 II or something like that, this is now the display facing outward so that you can see your menus, and it is a touchscreen. So you can flip that back around. You have that sort of pseudo leatherette, whatever they call it, that plastic vibe to kind of simulate the vintage film camera look. And you have those options. So really, all in all, in a compact kit lens, it really is a nice balance between the film camera, but you may notice that lack of weight and lack of sort of longevity of the strength and durability of the film camera, that it's to be expected. I mean, that's how it is these days for everything. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the other features, such as the compare and contrast with the Z50. All right, so let's say you have a Nikon Z50, or you're planning on getting a Z50, and now this the ZFC has entered into the mix, you might be saying, well, what's the difference? Why I have a Z50, that's fine, right? It's the same exact thing. Not quite. Very similar specs. Now again, they're both crop sensor camera, 21 megapixels, I believe. Now, some of the pros and cons. So obviously you have, number one is the design difference. This is a retro style hipster design competing with Fuji, and it just looks cool. Come on, let's be honest. Not to say the Z50 is like an eyesore, it just is visually challenged, but I mean, it doesn't have that same retro style of the ZFC. That's really what's going to draw most people to this camera in the first place. And so obviously then next up are the controls. You have different controls on the Z50. It's more simplified. It's not made for that film style. So you have obviously all these little dials and things that are controls that are unique to the ZFC. Now third, you have the screen. Now the Z50 kind of just has a flip down screen, and that's great, it works. It's just that flip down screen can sometimes get in the way if you have, let's say, a tripod here, or a selfie stick or something like that if you're doing vlogging. This ZFC does not have that problem for the tripod mount because it has a fully articulating screen, you can see here, and then you can turn it around. I'm going to show it like that. You can flip that around, so now the screen is on the outside. You can have that flip around, you can twist it, go like this. And so you have multiple angles that all are away from the base of the camera, so you're not going to have conflicts or issues with a tripod mount. However, it is important to note that this is the same side that has the ports for HDMI and mic, so you may actually flip it around and then have a cable going somewhat in front, especially if you're using a mic or something like that, a little pigtail kind of thing, or maybe HDMI will just go right in front of that. So you'll have your own unique issues there as well, potentially, but again, it's just whichever one you prefer to sort of deal with. Now, lastly is a pop-up flash. You don't have a pop-up flash on the ZFC, so that's actually a benefit to the Z50. There you go, benefit. Don't have it for the Z50, excuse me, you don't have it for the ZFC, so if you need a pop-up flash, go with the Z50. The last thing would be the USB connectivity. That is kind of an important one. I said lastly, but I think I have one more that is the USB connectivity here. That's a big deal because this is USB-C on the ZFC. Now the Z50 uses a micro USB. Well, what's the difference? Who cares? Well, one thing that the ZFC benefits from is that you can charge the camera while using it. So if you were using this as a webcam for like a Zoom meeting, or you were just recording your own videos, vlogging, you can have it be powered up through AC power while you're using the device. With the Z50, it's a different mechanism and it doesn't support that same USB power. So you have micro USB versus USB-C, and that's kind of could be a big deal, especially if you do a lot of video. So again, something to keep in mind, but those are really the only major differences between the Z50 and the ZFC. Okay, a couple of noteworthy little quirks or what have you that are worth pointing out. One thing that I noticed was the battery indicator. Now, I'm used to the Nikon Z6 II, which you go into the wrench icon in the setup mode, and then you just select battery indicator, and you can even make that one of those My Menu buttons to get quick access to it, because I kind of use that quick access that the battery is a numeric indicator. Oh, it's at 74%, it's at 62%. This doesn't have that. I was a little strange. I don't really know why, but it just simply in the bottom left-hand corner has a battery indicator like a cell phone, but there's no numeric equivalent, so it just shows it in thirds. You have full power, 2/3, 1/3, and then a sliver of shutdown. It's China syndrome. You got to pop this thing in the charger right away. Now, I didn't understand why they don't have that, but it's worth noting. And another thing that is noteworthy is that obviously, because this camera is so new, if you're a Lightroom user and you shoot RAW, you might try to import those RAW files and say, hey, Lightroom doesn't know what it's dealing with here. Well, you're gonna have to wait for a Lightroom update. However, a lot of people, I don't know if you know this or not, but Nikon provides a free piece of software, the Studio NX software, that is actually fantastic, and there's an update from version 1.0 to 1.01 that will allow it to access ZFC files as well. So you can do native RAW files right into the free software from Nikon. That is the NX Studio. And I would recommend just checking it out. I mean, again, it's free, and once you're in the RAW, you can use those sliders for, shadows and blacks and whites and contrast and such, and then you can save it out or export as a JPEG right there. So you do have, even if you are a Lightroom user, you do have at least an option to use the free software provided by Nikon to access the files right away until Adobe produces a Lightroom update. So keep those things in mind. All right, so this is just some lens silliness I just thought I'd show you because, hey, who knows, maybe somebody wants to see this. So because obviously this is the new Z series mirrorless lens, this is a ZFC. Here's what it looks like when you use one of the new 70 to 200 millimeter lens on this thing. This lens is a beast, and then this tiny little lightweight retro style camera on the end just kind of looks funny to me. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting to see that is exactly what it looks like with such a massive lens on the ZFC. But we can also go in reverse. Okay, so in reverse, this is now a F to Z version of an adapter by it's a Chinese company called Shotan, and it's not the Nikon FTC, but now I'm putting on a new camera, or a new retro style camera, I'm putting a 60-year-old lens on this. This is what, a 20 millimeter f4 lens from way back in the day, and it's just a manual focus camera. But again, you get to see sort of how that looks retro style. It just looks beautiful. I don't know, it entices me to just go out and shoot with these old manual lenses I have. I have quite a few of them. So now you got an old lens, what is this, like a 50-plus-year-old lens on a new retro style camera. It just looks gorgeous to me, and I just really want to shoot manual as well. So for those people who maybe wanted to get into film but was like, I'm not full hipster, this kind of gives you that nice little hybrid hipster. Maybe it should be called the Nikon ZHH hybrid hipster, because that's how I feel when I hold this thing. It's just fun. It brings back that romance, that's what I'm talking about, of the Nikon ZFC. All right, so there you have it. This is the Nikon ZFC. This was, again, just sort of a mini review. I'll do maybe after I really run it through its paces, about a month or so, I could do a settings video or something like that. Or if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. And I'll be happy to I'm sort of inclined to do a portrait shoot with one of these old adapters with like a 50 or 60-year-old lens on this guy, just to see how it performs. Hey, what the heck? So if you have any other video ideas that you want me to do with maybe the ZFC or the Z6 II, shoot me a comment down below. Maybe I'll do it. Lastly, let's see. I think what I'm going to do is, I don't usually use a strap, but again, this is my dad's Yashica from the Vietnam War that thankfully he came back and brought that as well, and brought me into the world as well. So I think this is a bit of a changing the guard as we speak. So this will be my strap going forward. It just looks cool, man. It just has that hipster vibe. So Pop, this is for you, man. I love you, buddy. So yeah, so here's the ZFC. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask below. And if you like this video, give it a little thumbs up. If you want to subscribe for this or any more videos, feel free to click the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.